I want to welcome you to this Age and Disability Friendly Forum for this February month. It's called Feast and Finesse, Mastering Nutrition and Aging. And I'm here with my co-host, Patty Stolier, waving her hand there. I am a coordinator of the network with Patty, as well as Age and Disability Friendly San Anselmo. And Patty is the chair and runs Age Friendly Corte Madera. And we are a collaboration. Our network is a collaboration of 11 committees of volunteers in 11 towns, cities, and communities around Marin that are encouraging inclusive and responsive policies, practices, and places for people of every age and ability in our communities. So how do we do that? We work in partnership with our governments and our municipal leaders and the community nonprofits in order for them to put that age and disability lens on, so that when they're planning in our community, they are giving more care and concern to those of us who want to age in our community. We all want to grow up and age in a community that allows us to be who we want to be and to live where we want to live and to do what we want to do. So, and to be valued and respected, no matter our age or our abilities. So that, with those values in mind, that's what our network works on behalf of our residents for. These efforts are a part of a global initiative. Age Friendly Initiative was started in 2006 by the World Health Organization, recognizing that all populations around the world are aging and our communities better do a better job of planning for us. So this network brings these educational forums to residents in the Bay Area every month. We cover so many different topics. So today's topic is Feast and Finesse, Mastering Nutrition and Aging. And we have two wonderful speakers based here in Marin. And that Htoo is going to speak first. He is at the University of California Cooperative Extension, and he runs he's the Community Nutrition and Health Advisor and for San Francisco and the North Bay. And then we also have Jenna Ray. She's been with us before, and she comes to us again. She's our senior nutritionist here in Marin County, working for the Area Agency on Aging. And so they will be speaking with us today. I'd like to introduce Zawei to share your screen and introduce yourself as you would like more. And welcome.
So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Zoe, Community Nutrition and Health Advisor. I work with University of California Cooperative Extension for the San Francisco North Bay area. And thank you, Sara, for organizing this wonderful events and inviting us. So today, presentation, myself and my colleague Jenna will be presenting about mastering nutrition for healthy aging. So today, a discussion, learning objectives is, as we announced in our invitation, we are going to talk about age-related changes, physiological changes in our body system and how they can have impact. When I saw Sara poll results, it resonated about the theory, literature, and also the topic we are going to talk, the appetite. I saw that 69% of the response show that you have decreased appetite as you age. So, I'm going to talk about why the appetite changes happen and how we can manage accordingly. And we are going to talk about how the appetite can influence on the aspect of eating, and that can lead to unintended malnutrition, and what will be the possible serious consequences about malnutrition and what we can do about malnutrition management. And then we are going to talk about eating and meal enjoyment and how to enjoy every bites and why every bites matters. And these topics will be discussed by my colleagues Jenna. So this slide I just highlight about these unique population, older adults in the United States. This is from the census data. It showed that it even gave the name like an aging nation. Now we are 2025, and in next 10 year, in 2035, the populations of older adults aged 65 and above will surpass their younger counterparts, children. And so as I highlighted in this slide, that will be 78 million senior or older adults, and that will surpass their counterpart children population. So why is this important? So for this unique population, the healthy eating habits is very important to improve their quality of life, not just number, not just longevity, to help improve their quality of life and to reduce their healthcare costs as well. And today's topic we are going to discuss. So first thing is to understand why these changes happen and how we can manage on them. Food is the major part of taking care of quality of life. And so based on the poll, I am glad to see that, you already have a pretty good healthy eating habits. So that is also the things people who are interested in this kind of seminar and mindful about eating nutrition. So they usually already have pretty good healthy eating habits. So that's great to know. So this slide, I'm just going to share about the physiological changes that particularly will have impact on our eating habits and how these systems have impact on our appetite and senses. So as we age, changes in our central nervous systems that have impacts on our senses, like smell, olfactory nerves, smelling, and also about tasting, that have changes in our senses. And also there are other changes in hormonal changes throughout our system that can have impact on our appetites. And in terms of body compositions, the skeletal muscle, the lean body mass, muscle mass decrease. In that place, the fat mass usually replaced. So that have impacts on changes in strength and also some hormonal changes. Changes in the lean body mass also have changes in some hormonal changes that also impact on appetite and eating habits. The other nutrients directly related to body systems, calcium, vitamin D, these things can also have impact on bone density, bone mineral density, that can have consequences on your muscle strength, bone strength, and likelihood of fall, and that can lead to unintended fracture and consequences on the long-term consequences on health. So the other important part is in the digestive system. In our digestive system, gastric acid secretion, gastric acid production is reduced, and that can also have impact on important vitamins such as vitamin B12, and also other absorptions from the small gastrointestinal tract that can have impacts on important nutrient absorptions. For particular nutrient absorption changes, I will talk in the following slides. So this slide is going to talk about anorexia of aging. So anorexia of aging, so again, based on your poll, it resonates. As we age, the appetite decrease, and that has occur because of all changes such as energy requirement. So I usually give an analogy as a car driving. When you don't drive your car, you might not need to fill with gasoline, as an energy. So as we age, our basal metabolic rate, metabolism slow down. So basal metabolic rate slow down, and that causes decreased requirement of energy. So that is also impact on our appetite. We don't need, we feel like we don't need much energy to intake, and that causes decreased appetite. And the other part is reduced physical activity, maybe because of, arthritis or pain or the muscle strength. As we age, we usually tend to have a decreased physical activity that also causes reduced energy requirement, and that have impact on decreased appetite. Sorry. The other changes are physiological changes such as hormonal changes that can have impact on appetite. I will explain a little more detail in the following slide about what kind of hormone changes can have impact on that. Taste and smell decrease, so that our hunger decrease because of our taste and smell sensitivity decrease, and other gastrointestinal changes we will talk in the following slides. Other pathological changes, as we age, maybe you might have chronic medical conditions, pain, that also have impact on appetite. If you have a chronic pain, that definitely have impact on appetite. Other gastrointestinal changes, fullness in your gastric stomach, and also if you have a constipation, that can also have impact. Fullness in your gastrointestinal system, that have impact on feeling full and decreased appetite. So all these factors have impact on decreased appetite. So in terms of gastrointestinal changes, so starting from chewing and eating, normally when we eat, our mouth produce saliva that moisten the foods, and that makes easy for the swallowing. But as we age, salivation may be decreased, and also the muscle layer of the gastrointestinal tract weaken. So it can make you difficult to have a normal, chewing, swallowing, and that can even lead to choking hazards. The other parts of the body, like a gastrics, that means the stomach, which is similar to leatherback, as it also have two sphincters. The upper part of the stomach, they have one sphincters, and at the end of the stomach is another sphincter. So as we age, those sphincters strength is weakened, and then the acid within the stomach can also, spill over into the esophagus area, and that can lead to GERD, which is called the gastroesophageal reflux diseases, that can have impact on acid burn sensation and decreased appetite. And other slowness in the peristalsis, which means the movement of the gastrointestinal tract when you chew and swallow. The normal gastrointestinal tract movement slows down as we age. That can also have impact on constipation. Another factor about constipation is your dietary habit. If you don't drink enough, and if you don't eat dietary fibers enough, that can also lead to constipation. That also have like a vicious cycle that can also have impact on appetite, decreased appetite, and that can lead to malnutrition, unintended malnutrition. Okay, next slide. So this slide just highlights, the mechanism of appetite. So this slide seems like, a lot of arrows, and I will just break down the fundamental aspects. So it have, starting from psychological factors or social factors. If we live alone and eat alone, social isolation, that can definitely have impact on the appetite. The red arrows indicate negative impact on appetite. In other words, decreased appetite. So if you have a depression or eating alone, social isolation, that can have decreased appetite. The other factors, like chronic medical conditions, or if you have gastritis or the physiological conditions, slowing of the gastric emptying or constipation, they all have impact on the appetite. In the lower part of the figures, I highlighted about the hormones. These are the hormones are all in red arrow. So these are the hormones which are usually produced from different parts of the gastrointestinal tract. Normally, they decrease appetite physiologically. As we age, those hormones are increased. So it's similar to, I usually give the analogy, the red arrows are the enemy of appetite. So as we age, those enemies getting stronger and make you decrease appetite. The green arrows are the hormones that our body produce, which are the friends of good appetite. Ghrelin and these green arrow have good friend for the appetite. As we age, those decrease. So that can have impact on your brain and appetite. So if you have decreased appetite, that can lead to unintended malnutrition and sarcopenia, decreased lean body mass, and that have impact, serious consequences on your body that can lead to reduced immunity. If you are malnourished, reduced immunity that can lead to infections and chronic worsening about your chronic medical conditions. And in terms of economy, that can lead to higher medical costs, healthcare costs, and slow down the healing. Okay, so what we can do about that physiological changes and aging changes, physiological changes, the things that we can do from the food and nutrition perspectives. So as we understand what factors make you changes in appetite, as we have decreased senses, smell and taste, sensation decrease. So we can make it more interesting by using herbs and spices instead of increasing salt and sugar that can lead to hypertension and increased blood sugar level, which is not good for health. So the good healthy way is to use herbs and spices to make you more appetite. And instead of eating a big chunk because your stomach has slow decreased gastric emptying and slow movement of your gastrointestinal tract. So instead of eating a big amount of meal at one time, you can eat a small and frequent meal and eating nutrient-rich foods and using some soups and smoothies. So you might not be able to eat big amount of fruits or whole fruit, but if you make it smoothie and that can give you enough calories, usually as we age, we cannot eat big portion. We can only eat small portions. So it is very important that small portions we can eat have enough calories to avoid from malnutrition. So smoothies are another good way for decreased appetite. And make sure to have a healthy snack in hand so that you can make sure you have enough energy and you don't have to be getting hungry. And make sure to use not drinking too much during the mealtime. It doesn't mean you cannot drink. Drinking and hydration is very important, but the timing is also important. You shouldn't drink a lot during the mealtime because it can make you feel full and it can impact on eating the energy and meal. So the other component is about dentition. So as we age, that our teeth can have problems And as I discussed earlier, the saliva production is decreased. So that can lead to choking hazards, and you might be worried about that, and you might avoid eating that have impact on your appetite and eating habits, and can lead to malnutrition. So what we can do about these changes? So with the poor dentitions and swallowing difficulties, so if you have a decreased salivations, you can make it, moisten the foods and make it soft, and you can make it puree to avoid from choking hazards, and like a kind of thick liquid, or if you have difficulty in chewing, make sure to the size should be a bite size, smaller size. And in terms of positions, you need to make sure the position is sitting upright to avoid from choking hazards. These are the things that we can make sure based on the physiological changes. So this slide is, you don't have to know all of these. This slide was included for completeness. Like I said earlier, as we age, the main changes related to appetite is in olfaction and taste. The sensitivity decrease. So these older adults tend to put, more salt because they are sensitivity to saltiness, sweetness. These taste sensation decrease. So they might tend to put more of these things. And as we suggested earlier, instead of using salt, they can make the foods interesting by using more herbs. And the other good part is there are other factors that didn't change. So the only factors that change are smell and specific taste. So what we can do with these taste and smell changes, so make sure to use some herbs, and another changes related to taste center. So as we age, our brain becomes, less sensitive to taste center. So we need to make sure enough hydration by drinking at least 6 to 8 glasses of water, and carry the water bottle in hand. And another part is we can make improve our appetite by using visually appealing diets to improve our appetite. So this slide is highlighting about what we can do, particularly for someone, caretaker or the community centers who are preparing food for senior, older adults. They can make sure the texture, flavor, the appearance, and the food temperature, nutritional content considerations fit with the changes in the older adults' physiological needs. So make sure all these factors will fit to the needs of the older adults' dietary needs. So this slide is an important one in terms of nutrients physiological changes. So as we age, our gastrointestinal tract has decreased absorptions of carbohydrates, lactose, which is from the milk, and important vitamins such as vitamin B12, which is important for our red blood cell, and calcium, which is important for bone, zinc, magnesium, iron. Iron is the most important part of our red blood cell, and oxygenation, and to prevent anemia, and zinc and magnesium, which are important for neuromuscular functions and other DNA related, immune related functions. These important nutrients absorptions from our gastrointestinal tract decrease as we age. So this slide just highlighted about the evidence in the senior, which is senior or older adults above 71 years and older, both male and female, have more than 90%. More than 90% of this survey respondents have not eaten enough about dietary fiber, particularly, not more than 90% of them, vitamin D and potassium. So these three things stands out in this survey. The older adults usually need to careful about taking dietary fiber, vitamin D, and potassium. So these are the changes in terms of nutritional needs. Calcium, like I said earlier, which is the most important nutrient for bone health. Vitamin B12 for red blood cell. Dietary fiber, which is important to prevent constipation, and also important for cholesterol level, maintaining the healthy level of cholesterol. So dietary fiber is important. Vitamin D, again, for the bone density. Protein, which is important for immune functions and to prevent you from infectious diseases, and also muscle strength. For the taste and taste changes, decrease sensitivity to saltiness, we need to be mindful not to take sodium. So this is one factor we need to be mindful about sodium to prevent hypertension. As if we have not able to manage about appetite and eating habits, that can lead to an intentional malnutrition. Usually that refers to undernourishment, undernutrition. But if we use the terminology malnutrition, it means both ways. It can be too little or sometimes too much. So for too little, it can lead to undernourishment and thinness. But for those who might eat too much energy unintentionally, that can lead to overweight and obesity. So these, the followings are the symptoms that you can know you might have encounter malnutrition. So these are the symptoms. If you look at the nail looks like brittle nails, and you might be feeling tired, and I might have the mood is not too good. May have a depression, your hair, your skin have symptoms showing like a dryness in your hair, skin. These are some symptoms that will make you aware about likelihood of malnutrition and alarming symptoms. Then you can take care of preventing malnutrition properly. So these slides are more detailed. You don't have to know all these details, but for more information and completeness. So how we can define malnutrition? So at least you have to meet two criteria. One from the phenotypic criteria. Within last 6 months, if you lose more than 5% of your body weight, or if you lose more than 10% of their body weight, but which is not within 6 months, which is within the longer period of time, that is one factor that can be considered as part of the malnutrition or undernourishment. The other factors are if you have energy intake, decreased appetite and energy intake more than 2 weeks, or if you recently have an injury, or if you recently have infections, that is more susceptible to malnutrition. These are the factors to consider in diagnosing malnutrition. And severity of malnutrition, one easy criteria is phenotypically, if your muscle mass has decreased muscle mass, mild to moderate level, that is likely moderate malnutrition. And if you have severe lean muscle mass loss, as I show in the photos, so that could be considered as severe malnutrition. So these are the consequences of malnutrition in older adults. They can have serious consequences. So such as physical consequences, weakness in the immune function that can lead to infections, that can, if you have a protein deficiency, that can lead to prolonged or delay wound healing, And other important CNS symptoms or mental consequences are cognitive impairment, depression, anxiety, some behavioral changes, and in the long term, decreasing in the quality of life and also increased morbidity and mortality rate. So very serious consequences can happen if you are not mindful about healthy eating habits and taking care of appetite. So these are a few strategies that we can manage about malnutrition. You already are taking very mindfully taking seminars and nutritional education section, which is part of the recommendation: nutritional counseling, nutrition education, and if you cannot eat enough energy, taking energy dense meal with the additional meals, and if you are eating alone, try to socialize with other people and make sure your meal time is enjoyable. These are the key components my colleague Jenna is going to discuss. And other visit recommendations are it is recommended to have a test or screening about risks of malnutrition yourself, and taking care of your nutrition status by attending nutritional education sections or meeting with a nutrition professional. And food modifications. So a few modifications you can do, to make it more visually appealing and flavorful, using the herbs and spices or frequent small meals, and they are energy dense. If you already have done and your malnutrition is more serious, then you might be recommended to take some oral nutritional supplements, or for those with the medical conditions and they might need enteral or even parenteral nutrition. But these are for the serious malnutritions with medical condition. So for those with overweight or obesity, they can do food restrictions. So this is the other end of malnutrition, overnutrition, obese and overweight, that they can reduce about 600 kilocalorie from their daily diet, or they can do physical exercise resistant training to reduce their body weight. I think this is the end of my presentation for my portion, and I will hand this presentation to my colleague Jenna.
Hold on, thank you so much, Zawe. And before we move to Jenna, I just have a couple of questions pertaining to what you have said. I guess one of the most important questions I think that came up is about what is considered a healthy snack. If we're going to eat small portions throughout the day and we need a snack, are protein shakes, protein bars, are those advisable, or do we stick to the real foods? And potassium was one of the minerals that you said that most of us are lacking as we age. And other than bananas, where does one pick up potassium outside of a multivitamin?
From most of the fruits, they are rich in potassium, and I think specific dietary recommendation is going to follow up in Jenna portion. So which is why I
Okay.
leave this for Jenna in her specialty. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
In general answer, most of the fruits are rich in potassium, but some fruits I don't think Americans usually eat, like grapefruits. They have also have a high potassium, and many of the fruits and green leafy vegetables, they are also rich in potassium as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, banana is definitely, everybody know
That's
banana.
what everybody knows, right? Yeah.
Potassium.
It certainly seems, as a summary of all your slides and the wonderful information you've shared, that we're fighting against our own body chemistry and medical challenges to eat well and to avoid malnutrition. And then that becomes an increasing, concern for us. And so I recently tried to help somebody find a nutritionist to help them be guided about what's best for them. What is the best way for someone to find a nutritionist? Should they go through their physician or should they just look in general in the healthcare community?
So one part, which is why the reasons we are organizing nutritional education sections and outreach to the community is for themselves to be aware about some signs and symptoms, what are the likely risks for them. And as they aware about that, they can also reach out to their healthcare provider. And I think nowadays, many of the clinics, they also have questionnaires screening about food security or food insecurity, and at the same time, during the history taking and physical examination, that also cover about some nutritional symptoms. But unless I understand, see older adults might not necessarily regularly make appointment with their healthcare provider. So one thing is self-awareness about healthy eating and nutrition and understanding about likelihood of risks. And if they feel that, I would recommend, even if they don't have appointment with the healthcare provider, they can also approach to other nutritional professional, like including Jenna. I would refer to Jenna, dietitian, other nutritional professional, like myself also, for the health and nutrition expert or specialized person, including some community organization who are providing community nutrition, such as senior nutrition programs and Meals on Wheel. And I think they can also link network with providers who have knowledge about nutrition, and they can guide and link with other resource person if they don't even have access or willing to directly meet with their healthcare provider.
Thank you. Thank you
Sarah,
so
I
much.
wanted to jump in. You asked about finding a registered dietitian or somebody nutrition counseling. Keep in mind that be prepared to pay out of pocket because Medicare will only cover if you have diabetes or kidney disease, I think is the other one. And the other thing I wanted to say is a lot of people are, and the doctor just said to be aware of what you're eating. Try making a diary just for a day or two and see how much and what you're eating and does it meet the requirements that he spelled out. So it could be very shocking to see if you're eating junk food or not eating for a long period of time, but keep a diary for a couple days and see what you're actually eating. Thanks.
Yeah, and also, in terms of snack, I just want to jump a quick answer. So like I said, the adjustment is important. We usually do not encourage to take like ice cream or some candies or snacks. But for those folks who have really at risk of malnourished, undernourished, and lack of appetite, and like long time ago, even with my professor, she is also a registered dietitian. She encouraged her patients, if you don't have appetite at all and you can only eat just about a cup of ice cream size cup, and she recommend like what about magic cup? I think that is also a brand name, which is also used as a snack that have a high energy and nutrient fortifications in it. So sometimes even though ice cream might not be the best one, but if you don't have any other appetite and energy is important factors, that might be a quick fix, but Jenna will have a more a professional opinion and answer on that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that personal bit too. That's very important. Jenna, thank you, doctor. We really appreciate your presentation. And Jenna, with that, he's turned it over to you, the other nutritionist in the room.
Yeah, I want to add, I think, to some of the questions, if that's okay. I know potassium-rich foods is a question, and yes, bananas are fantastic, and some fruits. It's also in a lot of vegetables, avocado, potato, spinach, lentils. So it's in a lot more things than you think, and probably some things you're already eating, which is great. To touch on the snack thing, yeah, I think I'll have some snack ideas in mind, in some of my slides, but yeah, you can stick to traditional kind of snack ideas, or with the small frequent meals. Even something that you might consider a meal in a smaller portion could be considered like a snack, right? So kind of finding what works for you and squeezing in, nutrient dense foods in your snack times, however you prefer, however you like, is going to be good. And then as for seeing a professional, I do think that, nutrition isn't a one size fits all for everyone. And it is really great and helpful to meet with a professional or a dietitian per se. So one-on-one nutrition counseling is gonna really help boost and progress your, goals. I would probably recommend starting with reaching out to your primary doctor and seeing, what kind of resources and people they have in network. That way you're not paying out of pocket if possible. But like Patty did say, yes, Medicare does cover some nutrition counseling for different diagnoses, but it is pretty limiting. So if that's something you want to seek out, coming in with, lots of questions and ideas, getting a quick session is going to be useful. Okay, I think I covered some of those things.
You covered all of them. Thank you.
All right, great. All right, I'm going to jump into my presentation. I'll share my slides here. Give me one sec. Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
All right. Great. Well, I'm Jenna Ray. I'm the registered dietitian with Marin County's Area Agency on Aging. We're housed in the Aging and Adult Services Department. And now that Zawe has talked about all the changes to our body and our nutritional needs, in this next section, we're going to talk about how we can meet those needs and reach our health goals by optimizing our nutrition by making small, sustainable changes to our diet. Okay, make every bite count. So what does this mean, right? It's a concept that we can use to be mindful about our food choices and make sure that we're including nutrient-dense foods in every meal or in every bite that we take. This helps to maximize the nutritional value of each bite that we take by selecting or adding foods that are rich in healthy components like vitamins, minerals, proteins, fiber, while limiting components that may negatively affect our health, like added sugars, saturated fats, excessive sodium. Every bite is an opportunity to move forward or to move toward a healthy eating pattern or lifestyle. Benefits of healthy eating add up over time, so bite by bite, and small changes matter no matter your age. Make each bite count for something, and what that something is for you might be different from someone else, whether it's for weight loss, whether it's for weight gain, whether it's for chronic disease management. Just making it count towards something that you care about or something that you would like to work towards. So yeah, sorry, I jumped into this too quick, but what is this something? Why is it important to eat healthy? Maintaining good health. You want to, be able to do the things that you have been doing forever and maintaining your good health metrics. Remaining strong and active and independent. So maintaining strong bones and muscles to help older adults maintain good coordination and in turn reduce the risk of falls and fractures. To help prevent chronic diseases if you haven't already been diagnosed with them, or in the case of an existing chronic disease, helping to manage your symptoms and the progression of it. to help meet your nutritional needs as we change, or as we age. As we heard, they do change. Achieving desired weight loss or addressing undesired weight loss or malnutrition. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we make every bite count for something? And that comes with elevating your existing diet. The easiest and most sustainable way to make every bite count is to elevate or enhance your existing diet with small changes. When considering making small changes to your existing food choices, take some time to look at what you're already eating. And like Patty said, I love that she suggested this. Taking a moment to kind of write down some of your snacks or your meals, the typical things you eat in a day. And then thinking about the ingredients or small components of each of those, and think about how you can slightly adjust them to healthier options so that the full picture of your daily intake can change to meet your needs. Making slight changes to your individual parts of your meals can make a big difference nutritionally. It can help fit new goals into your usual habits, and it can help people adopt long-lasting, sustainable, healthy eating changes to your diet and lifestyle. Over time, you'll build habits that'll stick. And instead of telling yourself, I can't eat this, it's important to kind of shift your mindset to, how can I make this even better for me? That way, you're not making drastic changes and having a hard time following a restrictive diet, right? You're working within the system that you've already built for yourself. And like I said a little bit earlier too, so remember, there's no one size fits all. It depends on what you're eating, but it's good to, a good first tip is to focus on boosting nutrition and reducing any unhealthy ingredients. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into actually, practicing elevating your foods in a bit. But before that, let's talk about balancing joy and freedom of what you eat with health. Oops, sorry. Okay. So yes, it is important to eat for health, but let's not forget that eating is something that we do both for function and for enjoyment. Food is wonderful and a beautiful thing that should be enjoyed. Why make it dull and boring by only, focusing on health, right? Finding the right balance will not only keep you healthy, but it will allow you to still enjoy the fun aspects of eating. Okay, so these next two slides might be kind of obvious, but let's kind of talk about the two ends of the scale, right? So eating for health or eating for enjoyment. So, eating for enjoyment, at the heart of it, food tastes wonderful and it can be prepared beautifully. It can bring us joy, emotionally and physically. Food is a social thing. It can connect us all. We spend time sharing meals with friends and family, and even strangers sometimes. And this is something we've done as humans for, however long. And we connect over our food. We can use food to enjoy new experiences, like new foods from different cultures, food in new places or travel, or even locally at a new restaurant, right? We use food for celebrations, whether it's for weddings or religious events or holidays, birthday parties, holiday events. We often celebrate with food alongside or with a special meal, and this is something we've done throughout time. And then in a culinary sense, food is an art, right? People spend their careers making beautiful food and enjoying it and creating art out of it. And then we often turn to food for comfort in times of hardships or stress. But I'll say kind of, with this end of the spectrum, just eating for enjoyment, it can be kind of difficult to maintain good health. And we'll go into that a little later. So let's do the other end, right? So eating for health. We've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's important to eat for general health and well-being, remaining strong and active, independent, weight loss, chronic disease prevention, those who may still be doing activities, it'll help with athletic or sport performance or activities. And then again, treatment for malnutrition or prevention. All right. So let's talk about why it's important to find the balance in the scale of eating for enjoyment and eating for health. as we know, what we eat has an effect on our long-term health, and some with existing chronic diseases, it can affect our short-term health and quality of life by making some uncomfortable symptoms even worse, right? So an example of that, right, is say with heart disease, you may be having fluid retention problems that makes it uncomfortable and difficult to kind of move around or do activities. But if you continue eating like you are potentially and eating high sodium foods, it can only make the fluid retention worse. So short term, your health can worsen and you can struggle doing things. And yes, medication can help with these things, but you know, it takes time to adjust dosage. At some point, you may reach the maximum threshold of this medication. So food is a way to kind of improve some of those short-term health symptoms with chronic diseases. And so balancing the two is important to find so that you're able to eat things that help with your health, but still enjoy eating in general. And like I said, making these small changes toward healthier eating that allows you to enjoy food still creates change that is just sustainable and easy to maintain over time. Now, when looking at, say, there's an imbalance between the two, like I said, if you're focusing a little bit more on enjoyment, there can be health consequences, right? You may be lacking variety in the foods you're eating, and depending on your preferences, what you're eating may not have as much nutrient-dense foods, which can put you at risk for chronic diseases, weight gain, malnutrition, worsening of diseases, etc. And then the other side of it, if you are only focusing on eating for health, it can be exhausting and boring, you know, if you're not enjoying the food that you're eating. If it is too restrictive, you can go through the cycle of changing your diet hugely and eating healthy and getting the results you want, but then getting bored or exhausted and feeling burnt out, and then kind of going right back to where you started and not making those sustainable changes. Okay, so let's talk about like actually how to elevate your diet. Even with restrictions or needing to focus on food for a specific function, you can still enjoy the foods and meals that you love by elevating and enhancing them with, you know, different components that will add nutrition or change the nutritional composition of it. Now, you can add or substitute components to your meals, and that way it can enhance nutrition or add flavor. And we'll go into some examples of what you can do to, you know, add things into your diet to elevate it. So we'll go into each component actually. So vegetables, high quality proteins, whole grain ingredients, healthy fats, fermented foods, like Zawe said, fresh herbs and spices, and then high fiber additions. So adding vegetables, sorry, I'm looking at this and it might be a little hard to see, but I'll read off the slide. So nutritionally, it adds fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and they help with immune function, digestion, cardiovascular health, eye health, chronic disease risk, blood sugar regulation, and weight management. This is a short list. There are so many ways to add vegetables, but just to give you a couple ideas of how you can add more vegetables into, you know, your existing diet habits. Adding leafy greens to your pastas or soups. Maybe the recipe doesn't call for it, but you can always add more. Adding roasted or raw vegetables to sandwiches, like sandwiches, fried rice, or grain bowls. And then even subbing spiralized zucchini or spaghetti squash to replace your pasta. So adding protein. Protein is important for muscle and bone health, immune function, fluid balance, appetite control, hormone regulation, cell growth, repair, and maintenance. And how can you add these into your diet? So choosing lean, high quality proteins, including plant-based protein for variety, texturally, you know, taste-wise, even nutritionally. So say incorporating lentils or beans into a salad, right? Incorporating fatty fish into salads, adding hard-boiled eggs, cottage cheese, or hummus into your snack routine. So whole grains. Compared to refined grains, whole grains contain fiber, vitamins, and minerals that are essential for your health. These also help to keep you full longer, right, with fiber. And some ways to add it, you can either swap or combine with the refined grains you're already eating for whole grain options. And that can be like pasta, rice, kind of blanking on that, but those are great examples. Adding toppings like flaxseed to, say, salads or your oatmeal, adding a side of brown rice or quinoa to a meal or even in a soup, and then opting for whole grain options for pastas. Adding healthy fats. And these healthy fats are vital for hormone health, brain function, cell growth, heart health, and absorbing fat-soluble vitamins. How to add them: you can sprinkle chia or flax seeds or pumpkin seeds onto yogurt, oatmeal, or salads, using avocado as a topping for toast, tacos, or grain bowls. Drizzling a little extra virgin olive oil over roasted vegetables when you cook them. Adding fermented foods. So these are rich in probiotics and they help support digestion and overall well-being. It also adds extra flavor to a dish. Some easy ways to add, you can add top meals with sauerkraut, kimchi, or pickled vegetables, or you can stir in a spoonful of plain Greek yogurt into smoothies or use as a savory or a base for savory dips. And then adding herbs and spices. Like Zawe mentioned, these can help replace flavors you might get from salt or sugar otherwise, but without the negative health effects. Some may have anti-inflammatory properties. And then on the other hand, herbs, they can contain several vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that will aid in your health. Some ways to add them: you can add any seasoning to essentially any dish that you cook, right? Soups, meats, stir fries, kind of anything. Can be a joy to kind of play around with them as well and find what you like on different types of foods. You can add fresh herbs like dill, parsley, or cilantro to salads or grain bowls. Instead of even just adding it as a topper, it can be, another main component of, say, a salad or a soup. And then a really specific example is adding cinnamon to oatmeal, Greek yogurt, or chia seed pudding. And lastly, I believe, is adding high fiber foods. Like we've already talked about, fiber is important for digestion, blood sugar control, and feeling full. And then some ways to add it. So adding non-starchy vegetables, black beans, lentils, or other beans to any dish, but specifically here, tacos, soups, or casseroles. Topping meals with diced fruit for natural sweetness and fiber. Or you could add flax or chia seeds into smoothies or pancake batter even. So kind of getting creative with the ways that you add them. So now I'm going to talk about very specific meals, and hopefully they're like common meals for some people, or at least will give you an idea of how you can make some changes into common meals for yourself, and how we can elevate them for maybe different needs, right? So let's start off with oatmeal. So we'll call it an oatmeal upgrade. What you can do to add healthy fiber is chia seeds or ground flax seeds, like I said. Those also add omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for brain health. A way you can add in protein is stirring in Greek yogurt or a spoonful of peanut butter. To add extra flavor, top it with diced apples or berries instead of the sugary syrups. This way it's a natural sweetness. Okay, so a taco upgrade. There's so many ways you can eat tacos, right? So many different options that you can include in them. So this is a beautiful one because you can kind of sub or change or, add different components that you'd like. So using a leaner protein, for example, you could use ground turkey or chicken with black beans. That way you have a lean, high fiber combo. You can add all sorts of different vegetables. So adding diced bell peppers and zucchinis to the skillet. They blend really well with different seasonings and add nutrients without changing the flavor profile too much. You can swap out toppings like sour cream. Instead, you can use Greek yogurt. It's got a bit more protein in it and probiotics. You can also sprinkle fresh cilantro for a burst of flavor and antioxidants. And then you can try to make your taco shell a little healthier if you're using just general enriched, flour tortillas. You can consider swapping out for whole grain, or trying for high fiber tortillas. Corn tortillas is another option. So stir fry upgrades. And again, similar to tacos, this one's beautiful because you can change so many different components, and it's, it has the essence of a stir fry regardless. So you can adjust the base. You can mix in brown rice and cauliflower rice to cut carbs and add fiber. You can load up on vegetables, just add lots of different colorful vegetables. Options could be like green beans, carrots, or snap peas. And then balancing it out with a protein of sorts. So shrimp or chicken thighs or tofu. Could even add beans or lentils if you'd like. And then making it with a sauce of tamari, fresh ginger, lime juice. All right, a pizza upgrade. Adding all sorts of vegetables, spinach, mushrooms, bell peppers. Adds fiber and antioxidants. I'll admit an embarrassing thing that I do, but I like doing this. I do cook frozen pizzas here and there, right? As a dietitian, might sound kind of crazy. But what I do to kind of elevate my pizza, of course, the frozen ones don't have as much variety in toppings. So I'll add like a big thing of arugula on top, or I'll cut up some broccoli and add it to the pizza before I put it in the oven, or all sorts of vegetables. And the beautiful part of that is the added toppings are fresh, they haven't been frozen. It has all sorts of nutrients. You can play around with the variety. So if you like eating pizza and it works for you, you can try all sorts of combinations. Different sauce options even. Same with seasoning. I always add red pepper flakes, sometimes hot sauce, but all sorts of different seasonings you can combine in that to make it different and flavorful.
We can see that pizza brings you joy, Jenna.
It does. Food brings me joy as well, just all around, but pizza especially. And like it says in this last one too, you can even add extra protein toppings. Sometimes I'll add, say a chicken that I've made for a different meal and prepped already. You can do sausage or tofu even if you want to season that and add that on. It's fun to get creative and try different things and see what you like. And then last thing is a chocolate chip cookie upgrade. And the one thing I'll mention with this too, especially on this slide, is the beautiful part of, considering just elevating the food that you're already eating to make it more healthy is you do have the opportunity to continue eating the things that you love, even if some might say it's unhealthy. You can add things to make it a little bit more healthy, right? Considering moderation, right? Not having too much of anything that might be a bit more indulgent. But some ways that you can upgrade cookies, right? So adding healthy fats, you can mix in walnuts or pecans for a boost of omega-3 fatty acids, also fiber, also some protein. And a second tip for boosting fiber, you could add the ground flax seeds or chia seeds into the batter. And it also adds a little bit of a textural change. Okay, if there's time, I have a group activity, but I don't have to do this if we're short.
No, there's time.
Okay. Yeah. So I want everyone to try this, and if you would like to share out at the end, you're welcome to. If not, don't feel pressured. But let's try this together. So think about a meal, a snack, or a beverage that you prepare or you consume regularly. If you have the opportunity to write it down, maybe think about doing that, and then kind of look at the different ingredients that you put in it. And after you're done doing that, look at the different components. See how you might be able to elevate this meal or snack or beverage to kind of push your balance line closer to, enjoying your food still, but adding in some nutritional components for your health. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. no pressure to be done now, but I'll just say once you're done, think about what are some things that you realistically can adjust to elevate it. How do you think this change elevates your meal? Does it increase a certain nutrient? Does it add flavor? Does it, say, sub out sugar for flavor in some way? And once you've thought about that, if you want to share out to the group, or if you'd like to type in the chat, see what people come up with. I think it'll be interesting for all of us to kind of see what ideas people have.
I love that you are talking about elevating our existing practices rather than asking us to radically reform our meal planning. So I really appreciate that you've offered simple meal upgrade ideas today, Jenna.
Thank you.
And also admitting that for some, this intense focus on mindfulness in eating that we need to do, perhaps as we're considering our chronic diseases or aging, it really can lead to boredom. So you're offering us a plan on how to have that joy in our meals, as long as we're also, like you say, elevating them, making the bites count. Looks like considering adding fresh fruit in lieu of dried fruit with granola or oatmeal or snacking is something that people do to elevate.
Yeah, great suggestion. I love that.
I do have a question that Dr. Htoo mentioned, that we have to watch our water intake during our meal times so that we are not filling our stomachs with water instead of the nutrition that we need from food. But as we age, should we also give consideration to our water intake? Do we find that most people are often more dehydrated as they age because they're not drinking enough? Can you speak to just water intake in general and maybe good practices there?
Yeah. So when I talk about that one, I also remind that doesn't mean you shouldn't drink. Actually, you need to make sure to have enough hydration, at least like 6 to 8 cups a day. The point at that time, in that point is, sometimes as we age, sometimes when we have actually thirsty, but it might be confused with whether thirsty or hungry, and then some people have a habit, drinking a full glass of either juices or some drinks, non-nutritious drink before he or she starts eating our own like a main dish. So which is the point that I say they can definitely have a sip during eating. That is also recommended because salivations may be decreased at older age. So a few sips during chewing and swallowing, but don't drink like at the entire glass or entire juice before you have started eating and chewing. So that was the point. For recommendation, minimum like 6 to 8 cups of water, hydration, it's needed. And unless they have a medical conditions, some might have some restrictions about drinking too much fluid. For instance, if they have a heart failure or cardiac disease, or if they have a renal kidney diseases or chronic kidney disease, renal failure, unless majority of the older adults, they are recommended to take enough hydration. So not only the water, food also have water content. So some fruits, they are plenty of water, for instance, watermelon. So not only water, they can also do be creative, eating some fruits that have a lot of water contents. And for me, I like to drink tea, but it also about be mindful about tea may contain tannic acid that might have impacts on iron absorptions and anemia if you are drinking tea too much, and if you have anemia, you have to be mindful. But otherwise, you can be creative and thinking about different ways of hydrations. In terms of quantity, about 6 to 8 cups of water, glass of water, at least.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
I'll add, I think that pertains definitely more to people that may be struggling with eating enough. If people do have appetite, a generally good appetite still, and aren't struggling to, eat all the things that they feel are necessary for their health, I wouldn't recommend restricting while you're eating, but definitely will make you feel full if you're really chugging water during a meal.
Sure. One suggestion that came in from Patty to go with your activity here, that she adds just a teaspoon of baking bits to her omelets, which sound delicious: spinach, mushroom, asparagus, and goat cheese omelets, rather than wishing you had some bacon on the side.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that is a good way to, respect moderation, but also, being able to still enjoy the flavors and taste that you want in a way that doesn't add too much, say unhealthy things to your diet. That's a great suggestion.
Jenna, did you have any more slides, or should we stop?
I don't. Yeah, this is kind of the end, just questions after this. So I'll stop here.
Yeah,
I know we'll probably share these slides after, so the sources are in there.
Everybody. Great. Let me so those of you who are with us still, do you have some you want to raise your hand if you have a specific question that hasn't been addressed yet? Or you can always put it in the chat too. There we are, so we can see everybody there. While you're thinking, one came up to mind. You mentioned using ground flax seeds, like let's say in oatmeal or other things. Is it true that if you don't use ground, if you just use whole flax seeds, which they do sell in the stores, your body can't digest those and you're not getting any of the nutrition out of them? Is that correct?
I think it adds, or your body doesn't absorb it as well. You might still get some, but yes, it is recommended to use ground flax seeds.
Okay.
Good follow-up.
And then this whole conversation we see in the media, and I'll get to you, Gloria, about inflammation. The research that's coming out on, we need to address our inflammation, which causes chronic disease or is part of our chronic diseases, and that there are foods we may or may not need to avoid. We're a year later from having you, Jenna, talk to us about nutrition, and I'm wondering from both of you, has there been any conclusive information on whether we should avoid certain foods related to that may or may not cause inflammation, or is the jury still out on that?
I don't want to speak so firmly that I know exactly what is out there necessarily, but I think generally research does show that eating, I think the gold standard, they say, diet or eating pattern wise, is the Mediterranean diet. It's rich in a lot of foods that will be anti-inflammatory and not restrictive, but doesn't necessarily include as much of the quote unquote inflammatory foods. And it's going to be really a rich diet, a variety of fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, fish, nuts and seeds, whole grains, healthy fats. So kind of everything, a number of components that we had talked about today. And how you include those, and whether it looks like a Mediterranean diet or not, up for debate. But just including those kind of foods is definitely important for general health. But I think kind of consequently helps with reducing risk of inflammation. And then do you want me to kind of go into some foods that can be inflammatory?
Well, let's get to Gloria's question
Sure.
and also Harvey's comment, and then we'll circle back around
Okay.
to that because I want to make sure we get covered. Gloria.
All right, I'm unmuted. Thank you. 3 quickies. One, Patty, make sure you try U chocolate, HU. You can use that with, has no sugar, it's a very healthy chocolate. I'm a chocolate person. Okay, I am very restricted in a lot of my foods. So I've been using cookbooks. For 4 years, I've been working on making things taste decent and good. I go look at the plant-based foods and there's no protein in them. And I don't understand that. Why wouldn't they shoot a little protein in the plant-based cheeses or some of that? So it's hard to get your mind around even wanting to use them. And the last quick question is if you have cookbook recommendations or product recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gloria. Yeah, I know it can be a struggle to include proteins when really focusing on a plant-based diet. I'm sure you already know this, so stop me if this is kind of repetitive, but there are a lot of plant-based products or sources of protein. Those are really going to be in, say, soy products, so fortified soy milk, tofu, tempeh, TVP, textured vegetable protein.
Can't have some of that. Can't have some of those things.
Okay, sorry. Other things that come to mind with that are even whole grains have some proteins in
Can't
them.
have that either.
Okay. Beans, lentils,
Can't
pulses.
have those.
Oh no.
Sorry. I mean, this is my truth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that and the struggle with that. I don't have any personal recommendations for cookbooks for that, but I'm happy to kind of look into that and see if there's anything I can find for you.
I have them. Don't worry about it. But about this protein issue not being in the vegetable-based foods, can you explain why they're healthy then? Why the vegetable?
I'm sorry. Are you asking in plant foods why they're
cheeses or
Oh,
or hot dogs or something? It's plant-based. You look on the label and there's no protein.
yeah. Um I don't want to go down the rabbit hole necessarily, but I find that, the commercialization of health or vegan products, they are kind of almost trying to mimic things that are, meat based or have meat products in them. So it's almost more producing products so that people can eat similarly to how they used to. I don't necessarily think all these products have health in mind, right? And it stinks that they may be advertising them as healthy, just because they don't have meat. So it's tough. There's not a lot of labeling laws, and things that are claimed to be healthy may not actually be that healthy for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then one last, or I guess we have 2 here. Is there a long-term issue with taking collagen? Well, we weren't going to talk about supplements today, but if someone's taking collagen supplements, is that something one needs to be guided by your physician on, or is there like anything, there could be an issue with taking too much of it, or if you have certain medical issues like scleroderma, I think, and others.
Yeah, I don't actually have a lot of background on the risk of taking collagen, so I don't want to answer without the knowledge. And I'm curious, Zawe, do you have any background on that?
I think the collagen supplements are over the counter and not considered as a medication. So normally, if you are using collagen as a supplement, it might not have a big issue as a dietary supplement. But of course, if you have some medical conditions, scleroderma, or some might have direct interactions with extra collagen, and then they definitely should let their healthcare provider know. Not only collagen, they might have some medications or some other drug interactions, or some drug and food interactions may have synergistics or exacerbations of that dietary supplement. So in general, it might not have, I haven't been aware of serious complications from taking collagen supplements, but of course, if they have a medical condition, I do recommend to talk with their healthcare provider, definitely.
Thank you. And the last question we have here are, what foods do we avoid for inflammation? And if you don't have knowledge to that, I think it was mentioned in our last nutrition session, nightshades, the vegetable group of tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and eggplants. I don't know if the research on that is conclusive or not, but are there certain things you could say? Well, sugar, I suppose. We've read about that one, but are there some other obvious ones that maybe if people haven't read lately or learned that they should avoid?
I think Jenna also addressed that questions, and to me, some trans fat or deep fried foods, and also hydrogenated fats, these are bad, and these are more pro-inflammatory diets. And also, I know I like barbecue, but high char foods, they might also exacerbate inflammation. So to on the counterpart, anti-inflammatory, like again, some green leafy vegetables and fruits, these are good for anti-inflammatory, and some spices, including and turmeric. Turmeric, I know some use even as a dietary supplements for the purpose of anti-inflammatory. So when you cook, I usually use turmeric in preparing some curry. So that kind of supplements may be useful as an anti-inflammatory in terms of diets, like whole food and whole grain and green leafy vegetables that are anti-inflammatory, and some probiotics may be also anti-inflammatory effects. The only things that I would in my mind to avoid is that's fats, and also high omega-6. Excess, normal is fine. Normal balance omega-3, omega-6 is fine, but very high omega-6 might be also inflammatory.
Okay. Good, thank you.
You covered sugar too, but I guess speaking a little more generally, yes, sugar, high sodium, saturated fats. Generally, when you think kind of like highly processed foods, say like sausage, bacon, things that candy, sugar sweetened beverages, those things are gonna have all those kind of components that are gonna cause some inflammation.
Yeah. Patty, I'll give you the last question, then we should wrap up and share next month's forms and let everybody go.
I just wanted to make a comment. I was thinking about Gloria's challenge, and I wonder if protein powder is an option. I know some people have a plant-based diet.
I use it. I use it.
Oh, so you are getting some protein in there.
Oh, yeah.
But some people have a plant-based diet for moral or ethical reasons, and some for health reasons. So if it's just for health reasons, you could add some lean turkey, lean chicken, that kind of thing. So that's
And I use that too. Thank you so much, Patty.
and
And
Sarah,
do use the U chocolate, HU. Very healthy. Read the cover on it. No sugar,
okay,
no this, no that.
I'll look into it. Thank you.
Whole foods.
One thing that Sara had brought up at the very beginning in explaining what Age Friendly does and what our goals are, I just met with the Corte Madera Public Works Department, and The town in Corte Madera is doing an ADA self-assessment to find out, is the website working for you? Are there places that you stumble in town, things like that. And I think a lot of the towns are going to start doing it because eventually it's going to be a requirement that they do it. But ask your town, are we doing the ADA self-assessment? And then the other thing is the option of at public meetings in the town hall to have captions, like we have captions available on Zoom. Demand that so that people who can't hear very well can see the captions happening on the screen. And what was the last thing that I was going to bring up? Having seats available. So if there's a town event happening, in advance, say, will there be benches? Will there be seats? Things like that. So make your voices heard and get into good trouble. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Patty, for the advocacy reminders. And let's all thank Dr. Htoo and Jenna Ray for their wonderful presentations and answering your questions today. We're so grateful for your time and your preparation and all you do for our county. Really are grateful. Jenna is the mind behind the congregate group meals that take place in our community and the meal planner there, and both of them work very hard on all of the food issues and those that need the food, working on their behalf too in our community and in our county and around the Bay Area. So thank you both for your dedication to your work with food and making it fun today as well. I will say that the forum for March will be focused on honoring death as a rite of passage. We've covered a lot of different forms of end-of-life planning, post-medical issues. This one, we're going to actually invite 2 doulas, end-of-life doulas, to join us here to talk about how do you plan for your own or loved ones those rites that happen at the end, how do you choose, how do you plan, what is legal in California, and how does a death doula provide a unique experience for family and our loved ones? So that will be in March on the 26th as well. Wednesday, and then April will be preventing falls. We're going to expand our thinking about balance and mobility. 2 of our age-friendly leaders are going to talk about all the programs around the county that are going on right now, from Tai Chi to Feldenkrais, to simple steps you can take at home to work on your mobility and safety. So that will be in April. With that, we are so very grateful. Thank you. And thank you all who participated today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you all.
Thanks for having us. Take care.